Many years ago, in the city of Asaba, there lived a young man named Ka. He was a very handsome man with chiso abs, baritone voice, and a sharp jawline that made him stood out in a crowd full of men. Color was not just good-looking. He was rich, filthy rich. He had numerous houses around the country and a garage full of exotic cars, with more cars than even a car lot. Kola lived in a mansion that had so many rooms that if he decides to sleep in one room every night, he would still have extra rooms by the end of 1 year. He owned hotels, clubs, shopping malls in every corner of the state. Kola was so rich that it was even rumored that he uses money as tissue paper after using the toilet. But despite his wealth, Kola never liked to mingle or party like the other young men. He was very reserved and he loved his space. He never allowed anyone to get too close, not even his domestic staff. Kola lived alone in his lavish mansion with a very high fence, as tall as an Io tree, all by himself. The staff were never allowed to spend the night at the mansion no matter what. They would come in around 8 a.m. in the morning and later 6 p.m. sharp. They were all gone, leaving Ka alone with his dark secrets, secrets that could make a grown man collapse in terror, secrets that could send a child into convulsion, and that secret was hidden behind a certain door inside a certain dark room in his mansion. Color was quite popular amongst the ladies in Asaban environs. They all threw themselves at him trying to get his seat in his life as the madam, but Ka never took any of them serious. He dated a few, but it never went beyond a few months. Kola went after a specific type of girls. They were young girls from poor family in small villages far from Asaba. When the time came for Ka to get married, he didn't marry any girl from Asaba. He went to a very far small village in Lauren to get a wife. And when he got to the village, he went after a girl whose name was Aok. Azok was a 19-year-old girl who had just finished her secondary school education. She was the first child of 5 children. Her parents were peasant farmers who struggled daily to put food on the table. Kola approached Ajok and her family and stated his intentions to marry her. He lavished money on them, built a mansion in the village for Ajok's parents, and established her father with a big business. He bombarded them with wealth, the kind they had never seen before. And that was how Ajok was given to Kola in marriage. No too much questions asked, no too much drama, money talks, nonsense stops. Kola paid Ajok's bright price, and the marriage ceremony was the talk of the village. The villagers envied Ajok for landing a rich man who turned their fortune overnight. After the wedding ceremony, Kola brought his young, innocent wife to his mansion in the city and gave her the best of everything from clothes to jewelries. He treated her like a queen. After a few months, Aoki got pregnant and she excitedly told her husband the big news. They both rejoiced. They both celebrated. But their celebration turned into mourning. Shortly afterwards, Ajok mysteriously met her end in a strange way. She slept one night and never woke up the next morning with her pregnancy. Kola informed her parents, and they all cried and mourned their loss. Oh, what a vibrant girl, still in her prime, her dreams and future gone like the wind. Ajok's parents cried bitterly. Kola shed some tears too, but what has happened has happened. He told AJ's parents that he wanted to bury his deceased wife at the back of his mansion, and they allowed him since he was a husband. No questions asked, nothing. Kola buried his deceased pregnant wife, or so everybody thought, and just like that, life went on. A career forgotten. 1 year later, Kola decided to remarry. This time he went to a small village in Benue and went after a very beautiful girl named Esther. Esther was a 19-year-old girl, very brilliant with long hair and bright eyes that held so much hope for the future. Esther was an orphan who lived with her uncle and his family. She was very hard-working and decent. Every day after school, she would go to the junction to hawk pure water to support her family. That was where Kola laid his eyes on her, like a predator eyeing his next prey. He approached Esther's uncle, lavished them with money and gift, and asked for Esther's hand in marriage. Esther never wanted to get married. She had dreams of going to the university and becoming a lawyer someday. But dreams don't pay school fees. Money does. Kola promised to see her through school. He promised heaven and earth. And the pressure from Esther's uncle, who was blinded by wealth, didn't make things any easier for her. Eventually, she agreed to marry Kola. And just like in the case of a jock, Kola built a big house for Esther's uncle and established the family. And they had the biggest wedding ceremony that shook the entire village to its very foundation. After the marriage ceremony, Kola took his wife in his car to the city. And as they left, Esther waved her uncle and cousins goodbye, promising to keep in touch. But what they didn't know was that that would be the last time they would ever see Esther. When Esther arrived at Kola's mansion, it felt like heaven on earth for her. She had servants at her beck and call. She ate whatever she wanted. Kola gave her a personal driver to take her anywhere she wanted. She wore the best outfits that celebrities wore in movies. Her life was like a fairy tale. Ka was the best husband she could have ever asked for. And Esther was happy. She went down on her knees thanking God every day for a husband like Kola. Kolola kept his promise to see her through school. He helped her enroll her at JAM, and she entered the university to study law. Everything was perfect. Life was perfect until she got pregnant and calamity struck again. Just like in the case of Ajok, Esther slept one night and never woke up. Her life and the life growing inside her was mysteriously cut short. Her dreams terminated. After Esther's death, Kola cried. Esther's family cried. Everybody mourned the young girl whose life was cut short by the cold hands of death. After a few days, Kola asked to bury Esther's corpse in his mansion. And just like that, Esther's uncle allowed him. No questions asked, no drama, no suspicions, just silence. In a few months, the world moved on and forgot about Esther. Exactly 1 year later, Kola remarried, this time to a beautiful Muslim girl from Kano. Her name was Zainab. Zainab met the same cruel fate as the other 2 young girls Ka married before her. That was also the case with Oichi, a 20-year-old girl from Abia State, and Naomi. And let me see, all the young girls met their ends mysteriously a few months after marrying Kola. In 5 years, 6 girls had lost their lives with their pregnancies in Kola's mansion, and nobody suspected anything. The families of the young girls never asked questions. They just went back to their homes to mourn their death. One fateful Saturday, Kola went to a wedding in Pun City. There his eyes landed on a young, beautiful girl with full bosom. She couldn't have been more than 22 years old. Immediately, Kola laid her eyes on her. He had already started making plans to marry her. The girl's name was Uki Nu, popularly called Uki. Uki was a fresh graduate from the University of Benin. She was learning how to do makeup before she goes for a national youth service call. That weekend, her madame was contracted to do makeup for a bride. Anuki followed her madame. After they had finished styling the bride, they were offered a table in the lavish reception hall and offered her sorted food. Sai of our madame being the bridal makeup artist. That day, Uki descended on the plate of food the Ketra served her, stuffing her face without a care in the world. She had not eaten all day, and it was not every day you see obo food like Chinese rice and seafood boiled to eat. This was a golden opportunity and took advantage of it. As she was bulldozing through her plates of food, she felt a pair of eyes staring at her. It was not a bad stare. It was that kind of stare a man gives to a woman he is interested in. Hooky looked up and her eyes met a handsome man dressed richly in white ayada. The man was tall with fit body that was visible under his abada, and his smile, all his smile, was heavenly. Immediately turned her eyes away from the man, slightly embarrassed, and continued eating her food. But this time she was no longer devouring it like a hungry lioness. She now added a little porch. Since there was an admirer staring at her now all through the event, Uki noticed the man's eyes following her everywhere. She stole a few glances his direction, and each time their eyes met, her heart would jump. There was something about this man. She was intrigued. By the end of the event, the man walked up to a kid and introduced himself. "Hi, my name is Ka. I couldn't help but stare at you all through the event. Damn, you are beautiful," he said, and blushed very hard. She was finished. That was how Uki and Ka started talking. They went out on a few dates and they started dating. Kola was a dream come true for Uki. He was handsome, gentle, and rich. He was open like an open book. He told Uki he had been married before, that his former wife died during a pregnancy complication. Uki was touched by his sincerity, and she fell in love with him even more. But there was one thing that made Uki decided that he was the only one for her. He never asked for the cookie. Unlike the last guy he dated who wanted to be intimate and get into her pants, Color was different. He never made advances at her. He never touched her in her intimate places. They never even kissed. All they did was hold hands. And when she asked why, he said he was saving himself for their wedding night. This kind of men still exist. This one full package. Okay. Couldn't believe that she bagged a responsible man. She couldn't stop talking about Kola to her friends, family, and even church members. Kola visited Uki in a humble house in Benin many times, and each time he came he lavished gifts, wrappers, and money on Uki's parents and siblings. He was humble and respectful, and before you know it, he won the hearts of Uki's family. And after a few months, Uki and Kola got married. Kola bought a house for Uki's parents. He bought cars for them and upgraded Mamai's rice business, just like he did for his other 6 late wives, Koluki, to his mansion in Asaba. And she couldn't believe that she was that lucky to be living in such a palace. There were domestic staff who did everything in the house, personal driver who drove her around town. Uki never had to lift her finger to do anything. She was served like a princess, and Hala was sweeter than sugar. He was always very attentive to her. He never raised his voice when talking to her. He pampered her with luxury. But after a few months, Uki started to notice some strange patterns. He never let her visit her parents in Ben City, and her parents were not allowed to come and visit too. When she asked why, he said he wanted his space, that they just got married, and it wasn't time to start having visitors. Uki also noticed that his parents or friends never visited. They lived in isolation in the big house. Even the staff were not allowed to spend the night. Once it was 6 p.m. sharp, the house would almost be like a graveyard. Or maybe it was a graveyard with an eerie silence and darkness she couldn't explain. What really had her worried was how Kola would disappear most nights into a certain room in the mansion and remained there for hours, leaving her alone in their bedroom. Fear started creeping into Uki's mind, but she kept assuring herself that nothing was wrong. Months passed and Ka started pressuring Uki to get pregnant. It was sucked too at first. They just talked about it, and Paula was still the sweet man she married. But after 1 year of marriage and she was unable to get pregnant, she started seeing another side of Kola that she had never imagined. He was no longer gentle or sweet to her. He started threatening her to get pregnant or he would end their marriage. Uki became worried. She had tried everything she could, but nothing was coming forth. She had drank all the concussion her mother sent her to conceive, but nothing worked. One day she visited a clinic in Asaba for checkup. The doctor ran series of tests on her, and when the results came in, she was told her body was healthy to carry children. The doctor told Uki to tell her husband to come in for checkup as well. That evening, when Uki told Ka what the doctor said, he fled up in anger. "You are the one with the problem, Uki. My late wife got pregnant after a few months of marriage. Maybe you are just bearing," he sneered. His words hurt Uki deeply. She tried to convince him to follow her to the hospital for checkup, but he refused blatantly. Uki, if by the end of this month you still don't get pregnant, then this marriage is over. I'm running out of time, he said as he stormed out. That night, Oki couldn't sleep. She cried bitterly that her marriage was about to end because of her childlessness. The next day, she called her mother and explained everything to her, and they began compulsory dry fasting and prayer for baby to enter. Wuki prayed and prayed so she could conceive, not knowing she would mysteriously meet her end if God decides to answer our prayers. For the next couple of days, color changed completely. He stopped sleeping in the same bedroom with Huki. He barely spoke to her. It was like she had become a stranger in her own home. Every night, Ka will enter his secret room and lock himself inside all through the night, doing only God knows what. Noticed it, but she ignored it, thinking it was probably his studies where he kept important business documents. But as the days passed, she started hearing strange noise coming from the room. It was Ka's voice talking to who exactly? She had no idea. Wuki's curiosity got the best of her, and she decided to find out what was in that room that was always locked. The next day, she asked one of the domestic staff, but she said they didn't know what it was, that they were never allowed to go near the door. The woman told Uki that they only started working in the mansion when Ka married her and brought her home. It became clear to Uki that maybe Ka was hiding something. She had ignored the signs for too long. Something was definitely fishy, and she was determined to find out what it was. For the next couple of days, Uki started searching for clues for keys that could open that particular door. Then she remembered her husband always carried a particular key with him wherever he went. He said it was the keys to his fortune. That must be the key. That day she went online and researched how to duplicate keys, and she found out that she could use wax to duplicate keys. She went out to a chemical shop and bought wax and other items, and she went back home pretending like nothing ever happened. That evening, Uki snuck into the room Kola was staying, and she quickly used the wax to get the shape of the key to duplicate it when Kola was in the bathroom bathing, and she placed the key carefully where she picked it up from and returned back to her room and carried on as usual. That night, Ka went into his special room again and spent the whole night there. The next morning, Uki got up and dressed herself, and immediately Ka left the house. She left the house too without her personal driver. She took a car to a key fabricator shop that she had found online the previous day. That day, she had Color's special key duplicated. She was ready to uncover all his secrets. When she got home that afternoon, one night told her to just open the door when Kola was not around and snoop around. But no, she was stubborn. She decided to snoop at night when Ka was doing his thing in his room. When Kola returned home that night, he never suspected a thing. They had their normal brief conversation, and Uki even shed a few tears to convince him she was worried about their childlessness. While her plans were set in motion that night, Kola went into a secret room and the noise started just like every night for the past couple of weeks. Uki, who was wide awake, tiptoed to the door, determined to see what was inside, even if it meant a marriage would end. When Kola was busy doing his thing, Uki opened the door with her duplicate key, and in a second she busted into the room with a great force. And there it was. Her spirit left her body at the sight. She was shocked. Kola too was caught off guard and shocked that Uki had discovered the secret. Uki stood there, still trying to process what was going on. Her husband Ka was making love to an embalmed, dead pregnant woman on the bed. She counted 1, 2, 3, 6 women. Pregnant women dead, all covered with white wrapper, carefully laid on the bed. Her mouth flew open in terror when Kola saw that his secret was out. He composed himself quickly and launched forward towards Wuki. She has seen his darkest secret, so he couldn't let her leave. He had to take care of her before she would open her mouth and reveal everything. Ola tried to grab Uki, but Uki dodged and she ran out of the house. He chased after her with all his might, but Oki was faster. She ran out of their mansion and started screaming for help. "Help me! Help me! Somebody help me!" Her screams woke up the neighbors in the estate and caught the attention of the estate's security. They all rushed out and saw Uki running away from Kola, shouting for help. Okay ran towards the security post and told them that her husband was after her life. "Help me. My husband wants to kill me. My husband is a ritualist," she cried out. That day, Uki told the estate's security what she saw inside Kola's secret room, and they arrested him, and they went inside Ka's mansion and saw the pregnant women laying there with their big bellies lifeless. I have always said that this man is a ritualist. Now every year they marry new wives. One of the estate security said everybody was shocked to their bones. Kola was evil. The neighbors called the police, and Kola was handed to the police. They evacuated the dead bodies from the mansion to the mortuary for investigation. Anuki, who was trembling, packed her things and ran out of the house in terror. At the police station, Kola sat on the chair with his hands and legs, coughed like a criminal. The DPO stared at him with fear in his eyes and began, "Mr. Kola, can you explain why the bodies of 6 women were found in your house? And why were you trying to end your 7th wife's life when she discovered your secret?" Called back at the DPO with a look that sent chills down the DPO's spine. "Officer, I don't have much time left. I will just tell you everything. That woman ruined my life. I shouldn't have married her. She was different from my other wives. She was older and smarter. I shouldn't have married her. Dob was supposed to be the last sacrifice for me to live a long life. You see, years ago my friends and I went to a very far village to do mourning rituals. We bought a cock rail each and took it there. The native doctor said the number of corn seeds our cock rail ate was the number of years we will live on Earth after the ritual. My friends all got 50 years, 40 years, 60 years. But when it got to my turn, my cockerel only ate 5 corn seeds, which meant I have only 5 years to enjoy all the wealth I suffered for. The only solution was to sacrifice 5 pregnant women, who I traditionally married. I have succeeded in sacrificing 6 women already. Ukinable was supposed to be the 7th, but she couldn't get pregnant, and she discovered my secret, and now all my efforts have gone to nothing. The 5 years is up, and the spirit would come and collect their payment," Kola said with a lifeless expression. He knew his time was up. He was a walking dead. The entire police station was shaken to its very foundation. Fear gripped the police officers when Kola confessed. They never thought something like this was even possible. The police kept him in prison and contacted the family of the deceased to come and claim their children who were victims of color cruelty. In a few days, the news had spread like a mountain fire on social media platforms, on TV, on radio, and fear gripped people when they heard the news. Kay's parents were shocked to their bones to find out that their son was a ritualist. Hookie, who was the only survivor, was shaken to her core when she heard Kay's confession. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't eat. She ran back to her parents in Bin City and checked herself into their church for immediate deliverance. On the 7th day after Kola was arrested, the police found him dead, just like he had said, with his stomach swollen like a pregnant woman and red liquid oozing from his nose, eyes, and ears. He was gone. They buried him in a mass grave where they buried criminals. And the news of Ka's death hit Asabal like a thunder. The entire city was quiet for days. Even children did not cry. Everything stood still in terror. Parents feared for their daughters. Daughters feared for their life. And they all learned a great lesson that could never be forgotten in years and years to come. Thank you for watching. Hi, lovelies. What morals have you learned from this story? The moral of this story is that we should always be careful. All that glitters is not gold. When a man comes to ask for your hand in marriage, it is good to ask questions. Find out about him. Know him before you say yes. When a man comes to marry your daughter, find out about him. Pray about it and know what you're getting yourself into before you even begin. The world is full of wicked people, and not be today starting start. Share this video with your loved ones to learn a thing or two. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so by now. Stay safe, and until I bring another juicy and interesting story your way again. Bye for now.